I just got this in and I popped it open and I went, you know what? I bet everybody else wants to see what I got. So, you haven't seen the videos yet. I'm about a month behind on getting the videos out. They're made. I try to put out about one a day, and that's how much fishing I've been doing. But anyway, I went on a fishing trip and spent 3 days in a row and used basically the same bait, but we'll get to that later. So what I ordered, a lot in this color, sprayed grass, and that's why if you're wondering, like, why has he got all these baits in that color? But I ordered a bunch of stuff. Let's just dump it out. Let's just dump it out and see what we got. So you guys know I like Z-Man, and right here, this color, now this isn't the one, these are the bang sticks. They're basically a Zinkers or a Cinco style with a little bit of a hula tail. But that sprayed grass color, that was killing it just last weekend actually. Well, the weekend before last. We're already 2 weeks behind. So anyway, I figured I might as well stock up on the sprayed grass stuff. So I got Turbo Craws, TRD Bugs, the Fatty Z's, and then also the deal, I hadn't got some of these colors, I don't know, I got a few other colors, but then here's the main thing that I was tearing them up on, this exact bait. The Zinkers and the sprayed grass. You guys may have caught a glimpse of that if you watched the Alphas video that I did put out. I put the Alphas on the Conqueror BF rod and used this bait on an 1/8 ounce jig that I had on the NRX, and it was the deal. So then I figured I'd branch out in a couple other brands that also come in sprayed grass. This used to be my favorite trailer for a chatterbait. Smalley Beavers in like Donkey Punch, not black and blue, but it was black and blue. There was a different name for it. I can't remember it right now. And a couple other colors. But that right there is still an awesome trailer for a chatterbait when you're trying to imitate crawdads. But then the bait that I love to hate, the brand I love to hate, Kitech, however you pronounce it. I got the small and the big, because let's just face it, these baits right here flat out catch fish. Let's also face it, these baits, seriously, that's going to be a 1 fish, 2 fish, 3 fish, 4 fish, 5 fish, 6, 7, 8. If you catch 8 fish on this thing, it's not doing too bad, because what will happen a lot of times, you'll get a short strike, tear it off, or you will catch a little dink or so, and then that one's gone, next one. But they do flat out work. There's times when these flat out get bit. They got the scent, action, and they are awesome working baits. But for me, I'm not a tournament fisherman. I'm just spending money to catch fish, but you know I'm going to keep some of these around just in case the bite gets that tough. So then we went to hardware. Wait, whoa, there's one more soft plastic. I did try these out. I've never tried anything Excite Baits. So I figured I saw this in the same thing, sprayed grass. And I wanted to try these, I'm not even sure, probably by themselves, but also maybe as a trailer, just give them a shot. So I just got 1 pack of these to just see what I think of them. And I talked about it in another video somewhere. I actually only had like 1 or 2 of the little 1/8 ounce head. Now, if you guys remember right, go back to those videos if you haven't. I love these 1/8 ounce. They're the Chatterbait Micros. 1/8 ounce. I love them as soon as I throw that skirt away and put like these little, and this so far is about the best thing I've found to put on them, but you can put the Slim Swims or these TRD Bugs. Like this color would be perfect to put on that black head and throw it anytime you think that bite's a little tougher, that a normal chatterbait may be spooking them for whatever reason, downsizing it, it seems to work. So anyway, I needed a couple of those. I stocked up on those. I ordered these wrong. I didn't know which size I would need. I wanted small, but honestly, these are too small. So if you guys are wondering about what snap locks to get, I think they even have a 000, and the zeros, I need, I guess, the 1. Now these, both of these I might possibly use if I ever do that real small creek stuff, and I don't know though, because I can tell you right now, what the rating on, that is nowhere near what it's says. That says 30. I can guarantee you right now that 10-pound line will not break and that thing will pull straightened out. I've done it on all these. This thing here, you do not let that fool you. These little things here are probably good for 2 to 4 maybe pound tests, somewhere in that area, real small BFS stuff. Any kind of normal, I'd say 16th ounce or heavier bait that you're going to be running anywhere 6 pound or more, do not use these little bitty ones. Some of you guys are probably thinking, well, I use them. Not me. And I actually tend to run a loose drag. But like I said, if I get down to the 4 and 6 pound test line, I'll probably start using some of those. I will use them at some point. They're not the ones I was looking for. I'm going to want the size up, at least a size or 2 bigger. Just a hair bigger than that is what I like for BFS. Then I actually like the regular ones. I get the red ones. I forget what brand that is for my regular, like 15 pound, anything over 10 pound test stuff. All right, where was I? I don't even know where I was. Let's talk about, oh, you guys are, I know somebody's like, he bought another jackhammer. He said he wasn't going to. I couldn't help it. I realized they had this, and you guessed it, sprayed grass. I just had to get it. To try it, I don't know. I can tell you right now, you do not need these. You don't need jackhammers. I tell myself that too. And I'll be honest, that one, the Bee Height Delight, I struggle. That's a ½ ounce jackhammer just like this one. That color, I do not catch as many fish on that jackhammer as I do all my other, the Z-Man Originals and the Custom or the Pros in different colors. And at that one color, I don't care what the blade does, the vibrating or whatever. I believe color can play a huge difference on these baits. And that Bee Height Delight, for some reason, it's so bright on bottom and dark on top, it just struggles, where the black and blues or the Bayou Craws or that kind of a shiner color, like it's not really, or white for that matter, but then other colors work better. Then I come across this one, and this is an actual custom. And I'm going to try to show you while we're here. But this is baby bass color. So I wanted to get it. I'm going to try to use it with that skirt. But I'll be honest, those skirts are definitely not the greatest in the world. But this bait is the one I talk about. It's got the smaller hook you can order. And I don't have, let me pull this one out of the package. I don't have one right here real close on my tackle box over on the other side. But this right here, these hooks, I'm not talking about quality of hooks, but I'm talking about overall size, because the jackhammers are way smaller than the originals. And almost any of them for that matter, other than this little guy. These are the customs with, I believe, the 4/0, not the 5/0. And I think one of the reasons the jackhammers have a good hookup ratio is because that's actually a smaller, not a true, I mean, it's a jig hook. Let's face it, those, you need a good hard hook set to really get them. Sometimes they'll just hook themselves, but you know what I'm saying. That's considered basically, it's what they call it, a bladed jig. So when you fill it, put the power in it and don't be afraid to yank. But I think the tad better hookup ratios with the jackhammers, or in a sense you can use a lighter rod to set that hook, possibly lighter line. You don't need to use 15, 20, 40, 80 pound braid, whatever you guys are using out there. I use 15 pretty much. I don't go heavier than that now. I used to use like 17 to 20, but both these hooks, I'm not sure what the quality is compared. They look very close, if not the same. But there's a huge price difference. And when I'm out there casting these and reeling them in, I can't discern one from the other. You can see this is the custom. Blade is already painted for you. That's supposed to be baby bass. This is sprayed grass. They've added the eyes. But what's funny is you buy these little, and they're cheap. The little micros, they've taken the time to put eyes on those little micros. And they seem built real well. So, I don't know. I definitely, if you guys have seen any other videos, I wouldn't say never buy any jackhammers. I was trying to say I wouldn't say never buy any jackhammers, but don't think you have to have a jackhammer to get on a bite. That if you're fishing with something else and you're like, oh, if I had a jackhammer, I could be catching them. No, if this is catching, this will catch them. If this is catching them, this will catch them. This will catch them. I said that completely wrong, but they are very, very close. This is a lot cheaper. You can get, and the Z-Man original for that reason. In my mind, once I start throwing them, if the chatterbait bite kicks in, I've never went fishing and I've tried them to where, oh, they're only hitting the jackhammer or only hitting this. I find they kind of tend to hit color sometimes over whether it's be a jackhammer or original. There's times when, man, they want that black and blue, or they want a more natural, or they want a white or a chartreuse and white. So I think color comes into play more with the chatterbaits than the actual brand. Other than, I mean, I like Z-Mans. The Z-Mans, I did try the Picasso. I do not like that. I like them to kind of ride down. You want to be able to reel them in slow, or kind of with a little speed and not feel like they're coming up out of the water column. You want them to kind of ride down. And that's why I do like the half ounce over the 3/8. Okay, I've talked enough about that stuff. What I also ordered, and I was catching them real good on these jigs, on an 1/8 ounce. But then I figured out, oh, I'm about out of 1/8 ounce. Finesse rugby jig is what you want. That's what I like anyway. You see how that eye sticks way out? It's easy to put, and I think also when you set the hook, it kind of makes the hook pivot. That's the way I feel anyway. It sets up higher, so when you yank, it tends to roll that hook into their mouth more than likely. I just like that design better, and it's easier to get your snap in and out, change out, or whatever. Problem was, I needed 16th too, but they had 16th ounce, and I got each in different color. Didn't really need that. Doesn't matter. You could go with all one color. But they had that. Well, then I was also out of the 1/8 ounce finesse rugby jig. They don't have them in stock at Tacklewarehouse. They do have the jigs, so I went ahead and got 1/8 ounce rugby jigs. Virtually the same hook, and the 1/8 and the 16th are the same, whether it be finesse rugby 16th and an 1/8 or rugby jig. That's pretty much EWG style, roughly the same style and size wire. Everything is very, very close. The problem with that I find with these, you see how far that it sets down in. Some guys may like that and they feel like it's going to protect your knot or whatever, but I don't feel it will help any at all. If you ask me, in my mind, it's just something else for that line to get knocked against the actual lead, the way I fish anyway. But I can make these work until the finesse rugbies come in stock. Whether I have to etch that out a little bit, you know, some of those, clear out the holes, make sure either a snap or your line can go in there, because I like a double. I like to go through twice. But the rugby jigs are also capable, and like I said, I'm going to finish this video. Like I said, they also work real good. It's kind of hard to see, but it's hard to get rigged up when you're out on the water and you need to switch out real quick. These, the finesse rugby in 1/8 and 16th, are easier. In my mind, it hooks better. I don't know. But we're going to use those until we get the other ones in stock. But then this, lastly, I want to talk about these real quick. You guys, I've seen some guys putting out videos already about using these worms. You can take these, and a lot of guys on the forums and everywhere are talking about it, and I started fishing this way with the green and white one, if you remember in videos. What they're talking about doing is taking a Cinco, Texas rigging it with just a hook, you know, fishing it weightless. You can use it kind of like a little jerk, you know, soft jerk bait kind of style. Throw it over in the, you can throw that in the nastiest of stuff with just a hook, Texas rig, not the bullets weight of any kind. The problem with the zinkers, they tend to float more. So if you want it to get down, you kind of have to use, and also I was going to say real quick, you can fish it in all those ways. Plus you can actually, you don't need to wacky rig it. You hook it on just a EWG, you know, whatever size. This is 3/0, which should work pretty good. You could probably get by with the 4/0 too. And throw it, and if you let it set, it'll kind of sink the same way, as long as that hook's not too heavy to drag one end down further. Or you can rig it towards the middle. Well, what I come across are these extra long wide gaps. So they're going to let me rig it normally like I would Texas rig. That end will be barely sticking out, or just a touch out of the worm, or I could have it, you know, the worm stick up a little bit past it. but it'll let this hook ride back a little bit further in this worm. But then with the zinkers, if you rig one up like this and you throw it out and you want it to actually go down, flutter down like more like what a wacky style would, you can throw it in the nastiest of stuff this way too. A normal wacky style, even with those little weed guards, they just tend to jack up. This way is the perfect way to do it. Get it close to the middle of the worm, rig it up. It'll be kind of close, but then you can take just a little split shot. You guys have probably seen it in the other video. Take a little split shot and put on this hook for the zinkers. Now, the regular Cincos and a lot of the other stick baits will sink fine on their own with just a hook. But these VMCs, this 3-aught will work, is probably what I'll use, but you could probably get by with the 4-aught too. All right, I'm getting out of here. Yeah, a little split shot. Now I don't know what size I just had some. They're in between an 1/8 and a 16th. I think they're more like a 16th ounce split shot, but you can play around with. I'd recommend getting about as small as you can. It'll barely fit on there. You know, crimp them on if you guys don't know how split shots work. But try that out. That is an awesome way to use these zinkers or any stick bait for that matter, because you can rig it with that little bit of split shot or without and throw it up. This rig like this, you can throw it in the nastiest places, especially with the zinkers, because they float just with the hook, and work it across any of those where you'd normally throw a frog. Don't be afraid to throw it up in there, work it around. And then if you get a bite, do it just kind of the same way you do it the frog. You know, when you see it hit, don't try to set the hook right then. Wait till you feel it and then yank. I found the hookup ratio with these, even floating almost on the surface, way better than with the frogs. Even the Booyah Poppin' Pad Crasher. You know, you're going to miss some of the smaller ones, or if the big one hits it wrong, or you just get too antsy. These typically, once they hit it or feel it, you know, you don't lose near as much fish this way. And it almost gets the same hits that a frog bite does. But, you know, you play around with colors, spray grass, the black, kind of the white with the pearl, the white and green. Of course, you know, your normal, I guess, go-tos, black and blue. June bug, all those kind of colors, almost any kind of natural color floating kind of, you know, unless you're in muddy water, you could try with these. All right, what else? That's it. We're out of here. So I got to get all this stuff rigged up. I'm going to, tomorrow right after work, load up and get headed out fishing for the weekend. This thing, I'm going to try it just like that with, I believe I've got a couple craws that's got a white belly and then a green body that I want to try, because it's going to look either like a crawdad or a little weird baby bass, and it's going to get a bass. But then this guy, I know it's a jackhammer. I'm going to rig one of these, maybe even this guy right here. Look at that. Ooh. I'm going to rig that guy on that one, or this guy right here. Rig that baby up. And one thing I don't do, and I've seen guys, somebody had it on a deal a while back, and I think I've tried it before, but it didn't really matter, so I changed. But you can rig these craws sometimes, you know, instead of flat, rig them like this, and it'll look, you know, if you guys are looking for that more like a fish swimming, even though it's a, you know, creature bait, go from flat to this way if you think that may, you know, just to try a few different things. There's, you know, I still couldn't tell you when I fish a chatterbait. I'm trying to creep it along as slow as I can reel it with this thing. Still, I can feel it and I want it to be bouncing off grass or whatever's on bottom, is usually when I have my best luck. But I'm trying to imitate a crawdad. They may think it's some kind of crazy fish. I have no idea. Now, if I think I need to imitate fish, I switch to a spinnerbait, which I hate to do because I like the way the feel of these. I can tell exactly what this is doing compared to sometimes a spinnerbait. You can't really tell. It takes you that extra split second, like, oh, did the blade stop because of grass, or was that a fish, or what was what? I feel I can get the hookups. I don't know, just tell what's going on more with the chatterbait. I just like chatterbaits more than, you know how it is. Some guys like spinnerbaits, some guys like chatterbaits, some guys like worms. I know one thing, I'm definitely a believer after this couple weekends ago, 3 days in a row. Be looking forward to those videos. And I did put one together of all three. I didn't catch them just on this, but this caught the most and the biggest. That bait right there with basically that in the finesse rugby jig. Just a blackhead, throwing it out. Probably started out about 5 foot out to 8 foot of water maybe. They were just out on that, what I call the outside edge of what grass was left, and it was just flat working. Tried some other colors, just nowhere near the hookups. Tried to thin worm, even a little shallower or out deep, and nothing right there. That caught the big one and the majority of the big ones. I don't think I caught a real big bass on anything other than that for those 3 days. Anyway, I'm out of here. Done talking to you guys anyway. I ain't never done talking. So go out, bass and bonsai for yourself, and let me get this stuff situated. Ooh, I could run one of these. Ooh, looky here. Jackhammer, Kitech combined. Oh, looky, looky, looky. Looky what your pops brought you. All right, I'm out of here. Bye. I gotta wash my hands. How'd they get so dirty? That looked like a working man's hand. That ain't me. I'm just playing. Bye. How do you shut this thing off? Oh man, I should know this by now.